Hello everyone, it's Saturday, so welcome back to the Saturday Anything Goes series. Sorry that I had to delay this one, but we had our team meeting this afternoon and I knew there was no way I was going to be back in time to do a 3 o'clock. We did a really cute Christmas sampler, so I'll have to post pictures of that. I think you'll like it. But tonight, we're going back to Christmas. Yes, it's almost Thanksgiving, and I still don't have all my Christmas cards done. And I wanted to do one more style. I've done some very traditional ones, but I also like to mix it up a little bit. Tonight, we're going to do a non-traditional Christmas card. We're going to use Dashing Deer. I absolutely love this big, bold image. But we're going to use a different colorway. I thought we would work with Pool Party, Pear, Pizzazz, and Highland Heather. Now, I just love how these three colors work together. So that's what we're going to do. Now, my first challenge was, since I'm using very non-traditional colors, I had no DSP with any of those colors in it. So what's a girl to do? Well, you guessed it. We're going to get to stamping and make our own. So let me pull this out of the way. And I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus. I've already got the deer and the sentiment loaded up on it. But before we worry about that, I want to make my own DSP. And there's a great stamp in the Dashing Deer set, which is this one right here. And I thought, how fun would that be just to stamp it all over my panel in the different colors that I'm going to be using. And that's what we're going to do. Now, I brought out the Stamparatus because I'll show you the one I made earlier today. And it looks pretty, but you can see I kind of went wonky on my lines there. So I thought the Stamparatus will help me two ways. It's going to allow me to use my magnet to ensure that my paper doesn't twist around, but also I can put this on a slant and use the straight lines on my grid paper to hopefully get a more even linear coverage. So let me just open up my stamp sets without dropping them all over everything. And we'll get to stamping. Hello, Amy. Thanks for joining tonight. I hope you're staying warm. It's rather chilly out here. All right, so I've already got my stamp mounted, and I think I'll start with the Highland Heather. It's such a pretty color. And I do have some of our new Stamparatus grid paper down because it's going to get a little messy. I'll be stamping off the page. And I'll just begin there. And then I'm going to clean my stamp off, and you guessed it, go into my next color, which is my Pear Pizzazz. And then again, because I'm using this as a guide, I can go straight across, and I tend to line things up a little bit easier. So I've wiped that off. Now we'll move into our Pool Party. Obviously, the Pool Party, because I'm getting down further, just one stamp isn't going to work. No worries. We'll just bring it over here, and then we'll bring it back and stamp it again. And that's all we're going to do all the way down the page, alternating our colors. At some point, I will need to move my magnet, but I think I'm okay right now. Except that ink's going to get in the way. And as you can see, it's really going rather quickly. So that was my Highland Heather. Now I'll move back to Pear Pizzazz. And if you don't get these lined up exactly, don't worry about it because your design panel is going to be hiding a lot of it. But I did want my edges around the paper to look nice. Now here's where I need to move my magnet. So I can continue stamping. And by the way, I am stamping on our Shimmery White paper. Okay, so that's the green. Now we'll move back to the blue. And it really does go rather quickly. If you wanted to make this card, to make lots of them, I could definitely see setting up a table in front of the TV. And as long as you can keep your color sequence straight, sometimes I have problems with that, you can stamp out a bunch of these. All right. And I'm probably going to have to reposition my paper a little bit because I'm getting pretty close to the edge there. Oh, did you see what I just did? Remember what I said about keeping my color sequence? It's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. I do want to go ahead and move my paper though because I'm getting too close to the left edge. So I'm just going to slide it over here. And again, I'm just using the lines on my grid paper to line it up. Okay, so let's go back to our blue. And I'm a little out of sequence, but you know, it'll be fine. Not gonna worry about it. Just have some fun with this. And since I did the purple there, I think I'll go back to the green for this side. And again, using my grid paper really helps me line things up. And I guess I better throw some more purple over on this side, huh? So just go in and have some fun with it. Doesn't even matter if you overlap. Like I said, your design panel is really going to cover a lot of that anyway. Okay, I think I want a little more purple here just to balance things out. But let's just do it over here. Put some more blue down here. And then I need to hit that one corner with a little more green. All right, so we just made lemonade out of lemons. My little mess up won't hardly be noticeable by the time all is said and done. So we're done with our DSP. Doesn't that look pretty? I really do like that. Let's move on to our design panel. I'll give you the measurements on these in a minute. Actually, I guess I could do that now. For the DSP, it is 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to have a thin mat that will go around my design panel. And my mat is going to measure 4 7/8 by, do it over on this side so I can see what I'm doing, 3 5/8. So that must mean my design panel then is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. All right. I line things up over in the lower right-hand corner of my stamparatus. That way I stay clear of the hinges, but this is a red rubber stamp, so it should work just fine if you line it up in the corners like you normally would. Just make sure that that's where I want it. Over just a little bit more. And then put my magnet down here. And yep, that looks about right, except I need to move it up just a tad. I want to make sure I have a little bit of space above my sentiment. All right. Now, because we've got this beautiful DSP going on here with the 3 colors, I was thinking, what color do I want to stamp my deer in? Because remember that it is a fill image, meaning that it is going to be filled in by the ink when you stamp it. And I couldn't make up my mind between the Pool Party, the Highland Heather, or the Pear Pizzazz. So you know what? We're going to do the deer in all three colors. I know, call me crazy. I think we will start out with, let's see, let's do our Pool Party first. And I'll slide the Stamparatus over so I can show you how I'm going to do this. I'm not going to worry about the sentiment right now, but what I'm going to do is take my ink pad and just ink up a portion of my stamp. I'm just going to wipe off, make sure I didn't get any on the sentiment because I'm not ready to stamp that yet. And then we always want to go from our light to darker. So I'll move on now to my Highland Heather. I'm just going to cover the rest of it, but still need to do my Pear Pizzazz. And that's easy to do. Simply come over, wipe off part of the deer, the ink from it. And now I can come back with my Pear Pizzazz and being careful because we don't want to contaminate our ink pads. I think I've got it. Okay, let's see if it comes out the way I'm hoping it does. So we'll put it down. Give that ink a moment to really sink in. And are you ready? Are you ready? Ta-da! So there you have it. We have a tricolor deer. And I really think it's kind of pretty. Now, because we're stamping on the Shimmery White, it does have a little bit of a slick surface. So I'm going to remove my deer stamp since I'm happy with the way it came out to make sure I don't smudge. And actually, I see I've got a little smudge of ink right there. Not bad. And for my sentiment, I think I will ink up in my sentiment in the Highland Heather. It's a nice deep color, so that sentiment should show up very well with it. So I'm just inking up my sentiment. I managed to get ink all over the place. That can be a challenge with these smaller sentiments is you'll tend to get the ink sometimes where you don't want it. So I'm just carefully cleaning up around the corners. Okay, let's stamp this down. And again, I'm not pushing hard because you don't want to distort the image or the sentiment, the letters in this case, but I am giving it a firm press and allowing time for that ink to transfer. And there we go. Okay, I'll remove this now. Set it aside for just a moment to let it dry. And we can move our Stamparatus out of the way. And the rest of this is going to be very, very simple. Let me just close up my ink pads really quickly because I tend to drop things, and with my luck, yep, they always end up right in the middle of the open ink pad. Okay, our base is out of Pool Party, and it is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, folded and burnished. We'll attach the homemade DSP panel to it, and I'm just going to glue that straight down. With good old liquid multi-purpose glue, because you know me, I need to wiggle. Although that went on pretty easily. Okay, set that aside. And I love the way this looks. You know me, I'm sometimes a fan of having a lot of white space on a card, but this is Christmas. So I'm going to dress it up just a little bit. I have brought in this little floral stamp from Dashing Deer and mounted it on a block. And I don't want any more color. I think we're pretty saturated with our color. So I'm going to use my go-to ink, which is Smoky Slate. So I'll just ink it up, and just here and there, add in a few little flowers, wherever you feel the need. And I think 3 is plenty. And you see how that just adds a little bit extra interest. Okay, now we're ready to finish this up. Like I said, I did cut a mat out of Highland Heather that is going to give me just a very, very thin border of color, which I felt was needed against that busy pattern. So we'll straight glue that down to the mat. And I'm not even going to put ribbon on this. I know, shocking. But I wanted the colors and the design to be what you focus on rather than a ribbon. And then for some added dimension, we're going to pop this up. I think those are all dry now. Remember, with your Shimmery White, do give it just an extra minute. It's not as slippery as, for instance, vellum or foils, but it does have a little bit of a slick surface. And I'm hitting this all over with my dimensionals because, hey, you can never have too many dimensionals. Okay, let's see if I can get these backings off without too much trouble. Baby, come on, pop up. Some of them will come up easily, and the rest of them you just gotta be firm with. If you ever have a backing that doesn't want to come out, press your thumbnail down in the center. That tends to lift the edges, making it easier for you to grab hold of the backing. One more. There we go. Okay. Let me just make sure that, pardon my head if it gets in the way, but I do want to make sure I get this on straight. There we go. And then it's Christmas. We need a little bit of sparkle, sparkle. So let me bring in my rhinestones. And I'll just use some of the itty bitty ones. So I've got my take your pick tool here. I know these are the old model where they had them all in a row hooked together, but you can get them apart. She said. That one didn't come out well. Let's do this one. Come on, let go. Boy, that backing they have on it is sticky. Okay. I think I got just a little bit of stickum left on that one. And I thought I'd put one in the center of each of these little flowers. Get over there. Here. Oops, that one doesn't have any stickum. You know what? Let me get out my pokey tool. Sometimes will separate them out a little bit better. if you do have this old style, remember that you can always use a little bit of liquid glue as well to get them stuck down. And sometimes they stick way too well. So we've got that one there. Nope. That was the one I had earlier, wasn't it? And I might have been able to get away with doing the larger, the mid-size ones, but I didn't want the bling to overtake the card, to be too much. So since I had these little ones left, I thought might as well use them. Okay, last one. And there you have it. Simple little card. Yeah, you're right. I should have used my snips to cut everything apart before we got started, but we got there. And if you'll notice, sometimes you get quite a bit of a line or demarcation. You could always take your sponge dauber and kind of blend that in a little bit. I actually liked it though. That's my striped deer. Well, I hope you enjoyed the card tonight, and think outside the box for some of your holiday cards. It can be a lot of fun to be the recipient who opens up an envelope to something that is really cheery and colorful and not just the traditional colors. Well, that didn't take us long at all. We're only 20 minutes into the video. So you've got lots of time to get back to your Saturday night. I want to thank you so much for joining me. And Tuesday night, I think we'll go back to looking at some of the other great stamp sets that we have that can be used just for winter cards in general. So I hope that you have a good rest of the weekend, and I will see y'all Tuesday night. Bye, y'all.